Amidst the barren expanse of the Nevada desert, could humanity's greatest weapon also be its gravest error? Commander Nathaniel Reed stood on the observation deck of a clandestine military installation, his heart racing as he surveyed the scene below. Under the blinding sun, the desert floor was a stark canvas, littered with the remnants of past tests, abandoned drones and shattered targets. Today, however, they were not merely rehearsing, they were on the brink of unveiling a system that could change the face of interstellar warfare forever. The air crackled with tension as a fleet of sleek, metallic vessels hovered silently overhead. Alien observers, their eyes glinting with a mix of skepticism and amusement, had long underestimated the human capacity for innovation. Reed could feel their gazes piercing through the layers of secrecy that cloaked the facility, their laughter echoing in his mind, mocking the notion that humanity could pose any real threat. Yet, as he watched the technicians prepare the new weapon, an advanced laser system designed to detect and eliminate unseen threats, he felt an unsettling sense of foreboding wash over him. The test began with a seemingly harmless demonstration. Targets were activated, holographic representations of enemies flickering to life across the dusty landscape. Reed's voice echoed through the command center, instructing his team to commence firing. The weapon roared to life, vibrant beams of energy slicing through the air. But then, in a shocking twist, the shots veered off course, striking a shadow that loomed just beyond the reach of the simulated targets. The laughter from the alien ships faded, replaced by an eerie silence that permeated the atmosphere. As the dust settled, Reed's pulse quickened. What had been an experiment to showcase human ingenuity had spiraled into a spectacle of horror. He leaned closer to the monitors, his mind racing. Data began flooding in, revealing the truth. They had not been training against mere projections. They had aimed at an entity hidden in the veil of the cosmos, an unseen menace that threatened the very fabric of intergalactic peace. The implications were staggering, sending shockwaves not only through the ranks of his military team, but also into the hearts of the alien onlookers, who now wore expressions of disbelief. The facility, nestled deep in the mountains near Ely, Nevada, had become a crucible of conflicting emotions. Commander Reed knew that the revelations would ignite a powder keg of tension. Should he disclose the existence of this newly identified threat, risking an all-out war with the alien races that had come to witness their supposed incompetence? Or should he bury the truth, allowing the uncertainty to fester while humanity remained blissfully unaware of the lurking danger? Reed had always been a soldier, trained to face the enemy head-on, but this felt different. The stakes were no longer confined to the battlefield. Memories of his childhood in the small town of Battle Mountain flooded back, distant echoes of laughter, the warmth of summer days, and shadowy figures that haunted his dreams. The past was a labyrinth he couldn't escape, and now, as he grappled with the weight of his choices, he understood that the burden of secrecy could lead to devastation beyond anything he had ever known. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the barren landscape, something inexplicable began to stir in the depths of the facility. An unsettling hum filled the air, resonating deeply within him, hinting that the true nature of their experiment was only beginning to unfold. The desert, once a backdrop, now felt like a living entity, watching, waiting, an ominous prelude to the chaos that was about to ensue. As twilight descended upon the Nevada desert, the atmosphere within the military installation thickened with a palpable tension. Commander Nathaniel Reed stood at the helm of the command center, his brow furrowed as he processed the staggering implications of the day's events. The hum that filled the air grew louder, pulsating through the walls, as if the very facility itself was awakening from a long slumber. He felt it in his bones, a premonition that something beyond his understanding was about to unfold. Just then, the door hissed open, and in strode Dr. Elena Vasquez, the lead scientist behind the experimental laser system. Her usually composed demeanor was shattered, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. "Commander, you need to see this," she said, urgency lacing her voice. Reed followed her to the data analysis room where monitors flickered with streams of information. "What are we looking at?" he asked, trying to suppress the rising dread in his gut. "We intercepted a signal," she replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. It's alive. It's been here, hidden, observing us." The revelation hit Reed like a punch to the gut. This unseen entity was not just a threat, it was a sentient presence, capable of understanding their actions, their intentions. "We need to inform the alien observers," he said, a sense of urgency flooding his voice. But Vasquez shook her head vehemently. "Do you really think that would help? They've already underestimated us once. What if revealing this only escalates tensions? What if they decide we're a threat to be eliminated?" Her voice trembled, not just from fear, but from the weight of responsibility that pressed down on them both. As the two locked eyes, Reed felt a flicker of doubt. The emotional toll was heavy, and he knew that the decisions they faced were fraught with peril. The risk of war loomed large, but so did the prospect of ignorance. "We can't hide this," he insisted, but his voice wavered. "We have to confront it head on." A sudden alarm blared, cutting through their discussion. The lights dimmed, replaced by an ominous red glow. "What's happening?" Reed's heart raced as he and Vasquez rushed back to the command center. Technicians scrambled at their stations, faces pale and expressions frantic. "Commander, the drones are malfunctioning," one technician shouted over the chaos. "They're responding to something in the desert." Reed's stomach dropped as he realized the implications. "What do you mean, responding?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. "There's a disturbance out there. Something is drawing them in." "It's like they're being summoned," the technician replied, pointing to the monitors that showed erratic movements of the drones, spiraling towards a point in the desert that pulsed with an eerie light. "We need to recalibrate the systems." "Get them back under control," Vasquez shouted, her voice competing with the blaring alarms. But Reed knew it was too late. The drones, now veering off course, were racing toward the very entity they had inadvertently unleashed. As the tension mounted, Reed felt the weight of his decisions crashing down upon him. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a reluctant leader facing an unseen enemy that could unravel everything he had ever known. The shadows of his childhood clung to him, memories of innocence shattered by the harsh realities of duty and danger. The door burst open again, revealing Colonel James Falcon, Reed's superior, a man known for his unwavering confidence. But as he entered, his expression was grave. "What's happening here? We need to contain this situation." "Contain it?" Vasquez interjected, her voice sharp with frustration. "You don't understand. This isn't just another test. This is a warning." Reed felt the pull of their emotional conflict, the weight of their shared burdens crashing together. It was no longer just about military strategy, it was about survival and the moral dilemmas that accompanied it. As Falcon's gaze shifted between them, Reed knew that the choices they made in the coming moments would determine not just their fate, but that of humanity itself. And just as the tension reached its peak, a low rumble echoed from the desert, shaking the very foundations of the facility, a harbinger of the chaos that was about to unfold. Reed steeled himself, knowing that the true test was only just beginning. As the tremors intensified, the command center felt more like a coffin than a bastion of military might. Commander Nathaniel Reed's heart raced, the pounding echoing in his ears as he faced the monitors, which now displayed jagged lines of static interspersed with images of swirling lights in the desert. The drones, those harbingers of potential destruction, were hurtling toward something that should not have existed. "Can we recover them?" Colonel James Falcon demanded, his voice taut with authority, but Reed could see the flicker of concern in his superior's eyes. "Not if they're already in the vicinity of that signal," Vasquez interjected, her expression grave. "If they make contact—" Suddenly the lights flickered, and the screens went dark, plunging the room into an unsettling silence. The hum that had filled the air moments before vanished, leaving behind a void that seemed to swallow sound. Reed's stomach lurched as he glanced around, feeling the unease settle in the pit of his gut. Had they just lost control of their own technology? Then, without warning, a blinding flash illuminated the command center, and a figure appeared on the main screen, a phantom-like visage shimmering with a celestial glow, its features indistinct, yet undeniably sentient. "You have awakened us," it echoed, its voice reverberating through the room, sending chills down their spines. "You seek to control that which you do not understand." Reed's breath caught in his throat. This was no mere alien entity. It was something ancient, something that had been watching humanity for eons. Memories surged through his mind, fragments of a childhood spent in the shadow of his father's obsession with the unknown, nights spent poring over books filled with conspiracy theories, tales of government cover-ups, and the inexplicable. His father had often whispered warnings of forces beyond comprehension, of humanity's hubris leading to its downfall. "Commander, are you all right?" Vasquez's voice broke through his reverie. He turned to her, but her eyes reflected something he hadn't expected. Fear mingled with recognition. It was as if she too had been touched by this revelation, pulled back to moments in her past that had shaped her ambitions and fears. I'm fine," he stammered, though he felt anything but. The entity on the screen continued, its presence pressing against the very fabric of his sanity. "You do not know the cost of your curiosity, nor the shackles of your creation." "Shackles?" Falcon echoed, a hint of disbelief in his tone. "What do you mean?" "We are bound by the choices of your kind," the entity replied, its voice growing stronger, more insistent. "We were here long before your civilization began, and we will remain long after your ashes settle in the sands of time." Reed felt the room constrict around him, the weight of the entity's words pressing down like a physical force. He leaned against the console for support, grappling with the gravity of the situation. The past he had tried to bury was surfacing, intertwining with the present in a way that felt almost predestined. Suddenly, Vasquez's voice cut through the tension again, wavering but determined. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, her brow furrowed. "What is the cost of our actions?" In that moment, the entity paused, its glow flickering as if contemplating the question. The tension in the room was palpable, a mix of anticipation and dread hanging heavily in the air. "Your understanding," it finally replied, its voice echoing with an otherworldly resonance. "And your choice." Reed's mind raced as he absorbed the implications of the entity's words. He was no longer just facing an external threat. He was confronting a reflection of humanity's darkest desires, a confrontation that echoed his own buried traumas. The past was colliding with the present, and he was left to navigate a labyrinth of choices that could lead to salvation or destruction. As the entity's gaze bore into him, he realized the true test was not just what lay ahead in the desert, but within himself. And as the screens flickered back to life, revealing the drones spiraling into the abyss, he knew they were standing on the precipice of something far more complex than they had ever imagined. The stakes had been raised, and the path to understanding was paved with shadows and secrets waiting to be unraveled. As the entity's words reverberated through the command center, Commander Nathaniel Reed felt the air grow thick with tension. The monitors flickered, the drone spiraling into the unknown, while the entity's presence loomed larger, demanding acknowledgement. A cold sweat formed on his brow as he fought to maintain his composure, the weight of his past pressing upon him, like a boulder poised to crush him. Understanding and choice. The words echoed in his head, twisting like a serpent. What did that mean for him? The choice he made here could lead to salvation or annihilation. He glanced at Colonel Falcon, whose face betrayed a mixture of skepticism and desperation. Vasquez stood to his side, her determination palpable. Yet he sensed doubt lurking beneath the surface of her unwavering facade. "Commander, what do we do?" Vasquez asked, urgency creeping into her voice. "We can't just stand here and let this happen. We have to act." Reed looked into her eyes, seeking the resolve that had once defined him. "We need to understand what we're dealing with. We can't engage blindly. We have to know the implications of our actions." But even as he spoke, he could feel the tide of uncertainty rising, threatening to swallow him whole. "Time is running out, Nathaniel," Falcon barked, his voice cutting through the haze. "We can't afford to wait for some cryptic explanation. We need to take control of the situation now, or we risk losing everything." The tension crackled in the air as they stood on the brink of a decision. Reed could feel the eyes of the entity boring into him, its presence an undeniable force that demanded respect. "No," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We won't engage until we fully understand what we're facing. We can't let our fear dictate our actions." But just as he finished speaking, the lights in the command center flickered again, and the monitors displayed an image of the desert, now alive with energy. The drones had halted, hovering uncertainly in the air, their cameras capturing these swirling lights that pulsated like a heartbeat. Then, abruptly, the screens shifted to a distress signal. One of the drones was losing power, spiraling toward the ground. Vasquez gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as she watched the scene unfold. "They're going down. We have to do something." Reed felt the surge of panic rise within him, but he steeled himself. "We need to establish communication with the drones. If we can regain control, we might be able to prevent them from before he could finish. A piercing alarm blared through the command center, and the screens erupted with static once more. The entity loomed larger than life, its voice now a thunderous roar. "You are at the crossroads. Choose wisely, for the fate of your kind rests in your hands." The room shook as the entity's power surged, and Reed felt the ground beneath him tremble. The air was electric, charged with possibilities and consequences. In that moment, he understood the stakes. The choice before him was not just about the drones, but about humanity's relationship with the unknown. "Commander," Falcon urged, urgency etched into his features, "what's it going to be?" Reed took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every decision he had ever made pressing down on him. He was no longer just a commander. He was a vessel for humanity's choices, standing at the precipice of fate. The shadows of his past intertwined with the present, and he realized that the truth lay not just in the entity's words, but also in the collective fears and desires of those around him. As the lights dimmed and the entity's gaze sharpened, Reed felt the gravity of the moment settle over him. He had to confront not just the unknown before him, but the truths that lay buried within. And as he prepared to respond, the future of everything they knew hung in the balance, waiting for a single, decisive choice. As the echoes of the entity's thunderous voice faded, Commander Nathaniel Reed felt the weight of the moment press tightly around him. The command center was shrouded in an eerie silence, the monitors now blank, reflecting only the fear and uncertainty etched on the faces of those around him. He took a step forward, heart pounding, and faced the flickering screens as if they held the answers he so desperately sought. "Commander, you need to decide." Vasquez's voice sliced through the stillness, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. The drone's descent was imminent, and with it, the potential for disaster loomed large. Reed's mind raced as he processed the implications of every choice. Taking a deep breath, he turned to face his team. "We need to stabilize the drones. If we can divert their path, we might just save them and gain insight into what we're really dealing with." His voice, though steady, betrayed a hint of desperation. He knew the stakes were high. Falcon nodded, though his skepticism lingered. "But how? We're losing control by the second." Reed's gaze darted to the console, fingers poised over him. The controls. He felt a surge of energy course through him, an echo of the entity's power. I can tap into the signal. If the entity is indeed manipulating the drones, maybe I can communicate with it, understand its intentions. The team rallied behind him, urgency igniting their resolve. With a flurry of commands, Reed initiated the connection, and the room pulsed with anticipation. The screens flickered back to life, displaying the spiraling drone, its systems failing, but still broadcasting a desperate feed. "Reed, we're losing it!" Vasquez shouted, her voice trembling. But then, something miraculous happened. The entity's presence enveloped the drone, a shimmering aura stabilizing its descent. Reed felt the connection surge through his veins, the weight of its ancient wisdom mingling with his own fear. "Hold on!" he shouted. And in that moment, he guided the drone with a force that felt both alien and familiar. The drone stabilized, hovering precariously above the ground before finally landing with a soft thud. Relief washed over the team, but Reed's heart raced for an entirely different reason. He had glimpsed something in the entity's energy, a vision, perhaps, a fleeting image of vast cosmic landscapes, swirling galaxies, and a whisper of ancient knowledge that left him breathless. But as the drone systems rebooted, the command center erupted into chaos. Alarms blared, and the monitors displayed a series of cryptic symbols, a language Reed couldn't decipher. The entity's voice returned, softer but tinged with urgency. "Your choice has altered the path, yet the mysteries remain." Reed felt a sharp pain blossom in his chest, as though the weight of the unknown was pressing against him. He staggered back, gasping for air, feeling the emotional and physical scars of the confrontation begin to manifest. Falcon rushed to Reed, his side, concern etched on his face. "Commander, are you all right?" I'm fine," Reed managed. But he knew the truth was far from it. The encounter had left a mark on him, one that would linger long after the adrenaline faded. As the team collected their bearings, Vasquez knelt by the drone, examining the readouts. "There's something here," she murmured, her brow furrowed. "Data we've never seen before. It's like a map." "But to what?" Reed looked at her, a sense of dread creeping in. "We've only scratched the surface. Whatever we've done has opened doors we didn't even know existed." Falcon's eyes narrowed. "And what if those doors lead to something worse? We can't ignore the implications of this encounter." The air crackled with tension, as Reed realized the moment had transformed them all. They were no longer just commanders and soldiers. They were bearers of secrets, guardians of knowledge that could either save or doom humanity. As the entity's presence receded, leaving behind an unsettling silence, Reed understood that the confrontation had only marked the beginning. The choices they made next would shape the fate of not just their world, but perhaps the universe itself. With a heavy heart, Reed turned his gaze toward the horizon, knowing that while they had survived this ordeal, countless mysteries still awaited them, each carrying the weight of their decisions and the shadows of the past. The journey was far from over, and with it, the potential for new threats loomed large, leaving them grasping for answers in the darkness. As the command center buzzed with uncertainty, Commander Nathaniel Reed felt the weight of his choices pressing heavily upon him. The cryptic symbols flickering on the monitors seemed to pulse with a life of their own, whispering hidden truths that eluded his grasp. His team stood by, their faces a mix of hope and dread, aware that the revelations from the drone's data could usher in either salvation or ruin. "Commander," Vasquez urged, "we need to decide our next move. We can't sit idle while the entity's influence spreads." Reed's heart raced as he faced the reality of their situation. The entity's power had been unleashed, and the implications were profound. They stood at a precipice, teetering between two equally terrible futures. He could attempt to harness the entity's energy, potentially gaining unprecedented strength, but risking total corruption in the process. Or he could sever the connection, safeguarding his team, but dooming countless others to the entity's wrath. He knew the weight of his choice would reverberate through time, echoing across dimensions. I can't let this power consume me, but if I turn away, we may never understand what we've awakened, he whispered, caught in the crossroads of destiny. The echoes of the entity's voice returned, resonating in his mind. Your choice has altered the path, yet the mysteries remain. With a heavy heart, Reed made his decision. He reached for the console, ready to embrace the unknown, but as he did, a flash of light enveloped him. In that moment, he saw the two paths laid bare before him, one leading to unimaginable power, the other to a dark and lonely isolation. With a deep breath, he chose, drawing upon the entity's energy to merge with it, becoming a vessel of its ancient wisdom and terrifying might. Yet, as the transformation took hold, he felt his humanity slipping away, the echo of his own will, now a whisper in the vast cosmic void. As the command center faded into the background, Reed became part of something greater, yet darker, leaving behind the team that had once looked to him for guidance. The weight of his choice settled upon him, a bittersweet victory overshadowed by the loss of self. In the silence that followed, the remaining team members stood in shock, aware that they were now guardians of a secret too immense to comprehend. The entity's influence had not only transformed Reed, but had cast a shadow over their future. Would they find a way to bring him back? Or had they lost their commander to the depths of an unfathomable power? As the monitors flickered ominously, the team knew that the battle was far from over. They had merely opened the door to darkness. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. Leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.